Have you ever had one of those gut feelings you just couldn't shake? You know, that sudden flash of insight that tells you something is absolutely right, or maybe very, very wrong? Well, that feeling isn't some kind of magic, it's science. And today, we're going to explore the incredible biological architecture that's working behind the scenes to create your intuition.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the evolutionary why, how this sixth sense actually helped our ancestors survive. Then, we'll zoom in on the two systems in your mind that work together to create that intuitive leap. After that, we're going to get physical and explore the three brains inside your body. Yep, you heard that right. We'll look at what your heart and gut are really telling your head. And finally, we'll talk about how you can cut through the noise to find your own clear signal.
All right, first up, let's talk about intuition as a survival superpower. And I don't mean that in a comic book way. This is a practical, ancient advantage that's literally baked into our DNA. So what's this number, 15 to 20%? Well, that's the slice of the human population that is naturally wired to process information way more deeply than others. And this isn't a bug in the system, it's a powerful evolutionary feature. The scientific name for this trait is sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS, but honestly, you can just think of it as having a more finely tuned internal radar. And it's not just a human thing either. Scientists have found this trait in over 100 different species. Evolution keeps it around for a simple reason. It works. These individuals are the ones who notice the tiny subtleties that everyone else misses, which gives the entire group a massive intuitive edge. You could say this deep processing basically works as the group's early warning system. Think of these folks as the designated lookouts for the tribe. They're the ones who notice that slight change in the wind or a subtle shift in a social dynamic. And their brain is constantly running this better safe than sorry analysis that ends up benefiting everyone's survival.
Okay, so how does a survival trait like that actually translate into a gut feeling for you and me? Well, let's look at the mind's two different operating systems. This really explains how your brain makes that lightning-fast intuitive leap from a tiny, subtle cue to a solid feeling.
So your brain is basically running two programs at all times. System 1 is the star of our show today. It's fast, it's unconscious, and it's highly emotional. This is your intuition engine. Then you have System 2. That's your slow, logical analyst. It's the part of you that double-checks the work and then tries to put words to that gut feeling that System 1 just served.
And here's the really wild part. That intuitive flash you get, that's your System 1 acting like a supercomputer. It has scanned literally countless bits of data from your past experiences, matched a pattern, and delivered a conclusion in a split second. It doesn't show its work, it just gives you the answer.
But where does that feeling, that physical sensation actually come from? Well, it turns out your head isn't the only part of you that's doing some heavy thinking. And this brings us to the physical architecture of intuition, this idea that we have not one, but three distinct brains in our body.
And here they are, the gut, the heart, and the head. Each one has its own unique job in generating, processing, and interpreting intuitive signals. And together, they form this incredible internal communication network.
So let's take a quick tour of these intelligence centers, and we have to start with the one that literally gave the gut feeling its name.
Okay, prepare to have your mind blown. Your gut contains over 100 million neurons. Let that sink in. That's more processing power than your entire spinal cord. So we're not just talking about a digestive system here. This is a legitimate second brain.
This really gets to the heart of it. Your gut acts as your primary sensor for safety and well-being. It detects threats and opportunities on a totally visceral level, and then sends that raw data straight to your brain through this massive information highway called the vagus nerve. So that feeling of butterflies in your stomach, it's a real physical signal. Now, moving up from the gut, we find our second brain, the heart. Now, while the number's a bit smaller, the heart has its own incredible network of about 40,000 specialized neurons. This heart brain gives it a surprising amount of independence and a powerful voice in your internal conversation.
So how exactly does the heart talk to the brain? In 4 amazing ways. It sends neurological signals. In fact, it sends way more info to the brain than it receives. It produces its own hormones, like oxytocin. It creates pressure waves with every single beat. And it generates a powerful electromagnetic field that you can actually measure several feet away from your body. The bottom line? Your heart is a major information broadcaster.
And finally, we get to the head brain,
the one we're all most familiar with. Its critical job is to be the CEO of the operation, right? It receives and interprets all these signals coming up from the gut and the heart. It then applies logic, language, and all your past experiences to make sense of these feelings and turn them into a conscious thought or a decision.
Okay, so we've got these three powerful brains constantly sending signals back and forth. The final piece of the puzzle is, well, how do we learn to listen? How do we tune our internal radio to get the clearest possible intuitive signal?
The answer, it turns out, lies in a state called coherence. This is a physiological state where your heart's rhythm becomes really smooth and orderly. And when your heart is in coherence, it basically acts like the conductor of an orchestra, synchronizing the rhythms of your gut and your head and bringing your whole system into beautiful alignment.
I think the best way to think about this is pretty simple. You have to reduce the noise to amplify the signal. All that stress, anxiety, and distraction we feel every day, that's just internal static. By achieving coherence, and you can do this with simple breathing techniques, like taking just a few slow, deep breaths, you quiet all that static down, and that allows the subtle, intelligent signal of your intuition to finally come through with amazing clarity.
So, we've seen how intuition is this powerful biological system, stretching all the way back to our evolutionary roots and playing out in the neural networks in your heart and your gut right now. The science is clear. Your body is constantly talking to you. The only question left is, are you listening?